Hello and welcome to a new video that might be part of a series, might not be, but the idea is to introduce different aspects of Sorcery, the contested realm, to Magic players who are curious about the game. But even if you already play Sorcery, I'm sure there'll be some interesting insights for you too. Today we'll be looking at Sorcery's elements and trying to explain them in terms of Magic's color system. In Magic, there's a fairly well-established identity to each of the colors, both in their philosophy and how that's expressed mechanically in what they usually do in the game. Sorcery instead uses the classical 4 elements, represented by the old alchemical symbols. Because elements are established concepts, there are certain things that we associate with them, and so Sorcery has been finding how to express these in the game too. So what I now want to do is to try and assign the colors of Magic, mostly by their gameplay, but also a bit based on their philosophy, to Sorcery's 4 elements. So in that way, Magic players can maybe understand better and grasp what the different elements are about. And as you see, we have 5 colors and only 4 elements, so things are not going to be that straightforward. Before we get started though, I want to just call out that each element's identity is not quite fleshed out yet. Maybe this is intentionally so, at least going by some of the designers' comments. And because Sorcery tries to emulate many aspects of early Magic, if you look at Alpha now from a color pie perspective in Magic, it's only half-baked. There's quite a few cards that don't fit the current color concepts at all. That said, I still believe a mapping of colors to elements is feasible, so let's get started with the most straightforward, fire. According to its description in the rulebook, fire is the element of desire and destruction, willing to do whatever it takes to secure a victory in the realm. An attunement with fire grants you an array of explosive spells and abilities that can create bursts of speed or burn friend and foe alike in great gouts of flame. From this description, you might already have a good idea of what color represents fire. As expected, we have cards that deal damage. Of course, due to Sorcery's grid system, usually they have some area of effect. We have plenty of minions that can attack the turn they are played with the charge ability. We have magic to let minions do extra strikes or deal more damage. And finally, we can burn entire sites to the ground. These are all effects that are familiar and commonplace in Magic's color red, which is what we'd expect to be the closest correspondence. But there are also cards that don't quite fit the red color identity. For example, we have lethal minions, which is the equivalent of Death Touch in Magic. We can sacrifice minions in order to draw cards. We have discard effects. And in the upcoming Gothic expansion, also demons who provide extra power while having some drawback, like damaging yourself. You'd recognize these effects to be associated more with black. Overall, I think the red associated cards dominate, but there's enough black alignment to be worth a mention, at least as a secondary color in fire's identity. Water is the element of charm and trickery, ready to adapt and disrupt the strategies of the enemy as it manipulates all. An attunement with water grants you a powerful home field advantage that will slowly engulf the realm, and the ability to position the enemy right where you want them. Again, this sounds mostly familiar, but you'll also notice some aspects which are quite foreign concepts to Magic. In water, we have powerful sea creatures that need to stay in water to function. There are spells that send permanents back to their owner's hands. Others can flood sites to turn them into water sites, and we even have a spell that can take over permanent control of opposing minions. These are all hallmarks of blue in Magic, particularly older blue cards in the case of Sea Serpent. We have some further nods to iconic blue cards of Magic, for example, a clone effect, and then a spell that transforms a creature into another one from your deck, like Magic's Polymorph, and then Sorcery's Polymorph that turns a creature into a frog, like Magic's Turn to Frog. But again, we have spells that go beyond what blue typically does in Magic. For example, there's life gain based on the body of water, there's mana ramp, there's large resilient minions, and even Mother Nature herself. I think that makes it abundantly clear that green is also some part of water's identity. Then we have some exceptions like Ice Lance, which is a bit of a one-off, but we do have quite a few drown effects. These would be more black aligned in Magic. In Magic, blue doesn't get removal like this. It's mostly bounce spells or these kind of tuck effects to deal with resolved creatures. And speaking of resolving, in Sorcery we don't currently have any counter spells, which are a big part of blue's identity in Magic. Instead, water seeks to control the board by flooding and forced movement, which is of course something we don't see in Magic because there's no kind of spatial element. So that really gives water something special, but on the whole I'd say its effects and identity are still closest to blue, with a splash of green. Earth is the element of enduring strength, defined by its focus on fielding and enhancing martial forces throughout the realm. An attunement with Earth grants you the ability to affect your Atlas and minions that can dominate the battle through teamwork and sheer fighting power. Earth is characterized by strong minions at cheap rates, minions that help ramp your mana to cast larger ones. We have magic spells that help your minions grow larger, and those that fight enemy minions. These are characteristics of green in Magic. But Earth also has ways of making many smaller minions, and also ways to pump up these small minions. It has powerful life gain spells, and even effects that tax your opponent's spells. So these are all white's domain in Magic. It's not without exceptions though. For example, we have damage and removal spells that are more aligned with black and red in Magic. We also have the odd zombie, which comes out of the earth, of course. And we have powerful tutor effects by rarity, something we've never seen in Magic. Still, I would say Earth's main identity fits well in green and white. There's the possibility of adding a black splash though, and I think in Gothic we might see a bit more of Earth's darker side. Then we come to our last element, air. This is a particularly interesting one, which is why I saved it for last. Air is the element of knowledge and power, dabbling in forces beyond mortal control to acquire the magical means to respond to any battlefield situation. An attunement with air grants you both mobility and tactical options thanks to its ability to teleport units around the realm and to increase its available spells. In air we see plenty of lightning themed damage spells. We have a lot of flying minions, some with charge, and also some spells that can deal damage to all minions. These are part of air's red identity. But we're not done. Air is also the element of card draw, be it cantrips or more card selection. We have sneaky minions with stealth and some powerful but fragile spirits. This means air also has some bits of blue. Remember, knowledge is power. To round it off, we have more creatures of the night, which can gain you life back by dealing damage. We have spells that can resurrect your dead minions. And we have creatures that threaten to force discarding when they connect. Also, there's ways to kill off those pesky mortals. These are air's dark side and part of black in Magic. There's some oddities still. We can argue that some of the effects along with flyers and spirits make the case for white to be included. Then we also have the teleportation and creatures that can enter the void, which are both effects that don't really exist like that in Magic. Flavorfully, they are similar to blink and shadow creatures, but they play quite differently. Overall, I'd say that air's identity is expressed quite well by black, blue, and red. So there we have it, an attempt to map Magic's colours to Sorcery's elements. It's obviously based only on the first two sets, so I expect this to evolve quite a bit over time as their identities are explored further, and I'll expect it be quite interesting to revisit this video in a few years' time. So let me know in the comments if you agree, or if you'd have assigned them differently. If you're a Magic player new to Sorcery, tell me which element seems to appeal to you most, and make sure to drop me a note below also what kind of videos you'd like to see to introduce you further to the game. So until next time, hope you stick around.